happy Wednesday, and it's time for another What's She Making Wednesday. And today we're going to be using the Gorgeously Made stamp set, dies, and paper. And we are going to be making a fun flap gatefold today. So it is so cute. I will show you that here in a second. So the products that we're going to be featuring are the Gorgeously Made dies, the Gorgeously Made stamp set, and our Gorgeously Made designer series paper. So it's 2 of each of these 5 designs. Aren't they pretty? And then on the other side, even more pretty. And what's so fun is we got to see how these papers were made. And so they actually tore each of these bits of paper, arranged them, and then took photos of them to print to make these fun paper prints. So these were actually paper flowers that they had made and arranged, took a photograph of it, and then we have our beautiful, beautiful, beautiful designer paper, this masterfully made suite for all of the products and this gorgeously made set. So let's get started with our card today. So it is a flap gatefold, and so it's going to open up the flap, and then it's going to have this fun, open up to this fun gatefold. So this is one of those sheets of paper. Isn't that pretty with our berry burst and our bubble bath? This one uses lemon lime twist and those fun flowers. Opens up the flap, and then the gatefold opens up. So isn't that fun? So let's get started. So what we're gonna need is a full-size sheet of designer paper. A full-size sheet of cardstock. We're gonna need some basic white. We're gonna need a piece of bubble bath, some designer series paper, and some designer series paper. So I've already got this pre-cut for us. I will, like usual, be sending all the measurements out via email this week along with this video. So if you haven't yet subscribed, you want to make sure you subscribe to my Buzz Bulletin. I send it out once a week, and it's got all the project supplies and measurements. So we're gonna start with our full-size piece of cardstock. I am using our Berry Burst. I love this color. And so we're gonna line this up at the 5.5 mark, and we are going to score this. Then we're gonna align it with the short side on top, and we are going to score this again 2 more times at the 2 1/8 mark. So we're gonna score it, and we're gonna flip it around, and we're gonna score it again at that same mark. So we have now our full-size sheet, and you can see those score lines. So before we do any more cutting, I'm gonna bring back the paper trimmer in a second, but before we do any of our cutting, it's important that we fold this on that halfway mark score line and burnish it with our bone folder at this point, because we want everything to be able to line up. And so burnishing it at this point is important before we cut off. So we're gonna end up cutting off these 2 top panels, but we want this to be able to fold over and line up correctly. So you want to do that burnishing at that point. So we're gonna bring back in our paper trimmer. And now that we have that burnished, we're gonna go ahead and line this back up at that same mark so that our score line is lined up there. And we are gonna go ahead and we're gonna cut down. We're gonna line up our cutting blade with this score line. Okay, so we've got that. Then we're gonna turn it. Now this one, we're gonna cut it again on this line to this point here, but we're gonna cut it on the left side of our score line. So we basically want to cut out this score line. So we're just gonna line it up and move it over just a smidge so that we can cut out that score line. You can also use your paper snips to do that if you like, but this gives us that good cut. And if it didn't quite cut it through, this one did, but you can use your paper snips to get that right out. So we're gonna remove this piece, and then we're gonna do the same thing on this side. So we're gonna line it up again on the score line. We're gonna cut down, so the side of our blade will line up here with our score line in the middle. And then we're gonna cut this one out. We're gonna cut it just next to that score line so that we can cut out that score line. If we cut it on it, it leaves a little lip. So we want to just cut that right out and line that right up with that score line. There we go. And so then we'll just remove that piece. So then what we're left with is our card base here. So we've already got our flap part, and now we're just gonna go ahead and burnish right along those score lines so that we have our gatefold. And if it needs a little trim, you can pull in your paper snips. If it didn't quite get off of that score line, you can just go ahead and trim any excess, because we want it to be able to close and the flap close over it smoothly, because that creates the card base. So that's the hardest part. Wasn't that easy? Easy, easy peasy. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna take in some of this designer paper. And so I've already cut these 4. This is from the same sheet of paper. And we're just gonna use both sides of it. Oh, this is a different paper, I'm sorry. But we're gonna use 2 sides that go together is what we're gonna use. So we're gonna first use this lighter piece. And I think we'll put this bubble bath line on the outside of both. So I'm gonna use my Stampin' Seal Plus. We're just gonna put a little bit of that on there, and we're just gonna center this onto the inside panel of our flap. And we're gonna do the same thing with our other side here. And we're just gonna center that right there. So now we've got our inside of our flaps. Then we're gonna take our other 2 pieces, and they're all the same measurements, these 4 pieces. Put a little adhesive on those. And we're gonna center these on our inside flaps here. Oops, went a little off the page with that adhesive. Okay, and then we're just gonna line this one up and center that on our inside flap. So now we've got our 2 designer series prints on our flaps. So now we're gonna do a little bit of stamping for this inside piece here. We've got our basic white, and I'm gonna bring in this stamp from our Gorgeously Made set. And I'm also gonna bring in some bubble bath. Love our bubble bath color. And we're just gonna ink this up. I'm gonna stamp off just kind of on the left corner here. And then I'm gonna flip this around. I'm gonna do the same thing in the opposite corner. So now we have a little bit of design there on the inside panel of our card. So we'll just go ahead and put that right on some adhesive and put that right on the inside of our card here. So we've got that. Okay, and now let's do the front panel of our card. So I've got a piece of bubble bath cardstock, and I've also got a piece of designer, some more of that designer paper. So we're gonna go ahead and attach this piece first with a bit of adhesive. We're just gonna center that right onto our bubble bath. And then I'm gonna bring in some ribbon. This is our bubble bath ribbon. It actually comes in a 3-pack with some lemon lolly and some azure afternoon. So we're just going to cut a little strip that's just probably about 1 inch longer on each side of our card here. We're gonna use our ribbon snips, and I keep a little bumblebee right on them, so I know those are my ribbon snips. And we're gonna attach this, so we want this to be straight, and so kind of I line it up, and then I'm gonna kind of flip it over and do the same thing again. So I'm just lining it up with my grid lines here. I'm gonna bring in some tear and tape adhesive, find the end here, and we're just gonna tear 2 strips of this, and I'm just gonna fold my ribbon over and put a little piece of this tear and tape adhesive right on the back. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side here. So that will secure it. And then we have our bubble bath ribbon on the front. How cute, right? So now we're gonna take another little piece. We're gonna cut this at an angle. And we're going to, while it's still attached here, I'm going to slip it under and turn my card here to the side. I'm gonna slip it under, and then I'm just gonna tie a knot. So I like to do this while it's attached, so I make sure I get enough ribbon to tie it, right? So then I'm gonna turn my card, and I'm just gonna pull this so that it's just a knot. And then I'm gonna take my ribbon snips again, and then at an angle, I'm just going to snip that piece. And then this one is just a tad long, so I'm just gonna go ahead and snip that one a little bit as well. So then we have kind of a fake little bow there, right? That we have attached. Okay, so we're gonna bring back in our card base. We've got our piece here, and I've also already die cut from our Gorgeously Made dies in Lost Lagoon, this die right here. So normally I would recommend that you put this on an adhesive sheet so it was easy to attach, meaning there was adhesive on the back. We just peeled this and we're able to stick it. But since we're gonna put this kind of behind our bow here, I am actually gonna use our green glue. So our liquid adhesive, our multi-purpose glue here, and we're just gonna put some little dots kind of in these leaves. So every single one doesn't need to be attached. You just wanna kind of make sure that we get just a tiny dot of glue kind of in all the major areas of our die cut here. And maybe on the stem there. So they're big enough that you can dot the glue on there. So you can see that. So you don't want to put a big smudge of glue, just a little dot. And then we're just gonna lift our ribbon slightly, and I'm just gonna put this kind of at an angle and tuck that right behind my ribbon. Okay, so then we're gonna do a little bit more stamping. Another one of the dies in this Gorgeously Made set is this great sentiment strip. So it's kind of an uneven strip. I love how artistic it looks. And so we're gonna use this cute thank you stamp that is in the Gorgeously Made set. And we're gonna ink it up with some Berry Burst. So we've got our Berry Burst. We're just gonna lightly ink that up because we don't want, you see how that gets a bit on the edge? So we don't want this imprint, right? So let me actually go ahead and clean this real quick. Wanted to show you guys that because this one requires a light hand. So now we've got all the ink off of the back of that. And so we're just gonna lightly tap this. That's much better. So you see there's no ink around this border here, which will leave this inked border imprint. So we're just gonna go ahead and line that up and lightly stamp it. And we have our cute thank you. Okay, so now we'll put our Berry Burst away. And we're gonna bring in our adhesive again, our Stampin' Seal Plus, to attach this. And we're gonna go ahead and attach this piece to the front of our base. So we've got that. And then we'll bring in some dimensionals here. Flip this over. Add a couple of dimensionals to the back of our sentiment strip. Peel those off. And we will go ahead and attach this. And you can attach it, you know, straight in the middle. We could put it under our bow here. I'm gonna put this one actually at an angle. Kind of at an off angle here to the right. And isn't that cute? Okay, but of course it needs a little bling, right? So let's bring in this sweet collection, it also comes with this sequins trio. And so it's got some Lost Lagoon, some white, and some cute pink, kind of berry pinkish sequins. So we're gonna put these on. I'm gonna use the pink ones here. Let's put a couple next to our sentiment here. And then we'll go ahead and put a couple throughout. So maybe 2 down here. We always want to put these with uneven numbers. So we've got 4 now, so we want to put at least 1 more. And they don't have to match. You could use multiple colors. In fact, I think I'm going to use one of these Lost Lagoon down here. And there we have this super cute fun fold, and I'm calling it a flap gatefold because it's got this flap, and we're gonna open it up to this great gatefold. So if you want all of these measurements typed out, they will be written in all the supplies in my weekly Buzz Bulletin newsletter. You can subscribe down below in the description, or you can go to stampinqueenbee.com and subscribe there as well. Thank you so much for sharing this video, for liking and subscribing. And go ahead and bring back in our other samples here, all made with the same sets. Aren't they cute? Have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.